going to read a selection from Soul Seeker, Reflections on a Spiritual Journey from Darkness to the Light by Perspectus. During one of these sessions, something happened that truly opened my mind and my soul to the possibility that there was something out there beyond my knowledge and experience that is unseen and powerful. In one of my sessions, I experienced an extraordinary event. I could see the illuminated energy flowing throughout my body, and then exploding out from my sacral chakra like a flame, taking me with it. I was suddenly alone in the darkness of the universe. I was totally in awe. Then, surprisingly, I sensed someone standing next to me as I lay horizontally on the table. I turned my head, and there was a man who was dressed like a monk, with a woman who appeared also to be a holy person, and the two of them were looking down at me as though they were examining my body. I lay there stiff and rigid as they stared intensely up and down my body. While they never spoke, I knew they were evaluating my physical, mental, and spiritual condition. Suddenly, I was unsure of my identity. I felt that I was a wounded soldier, a pregnant woman, a beggar in pain, a philosopher. Faster and faster came split-second flashes of different human conditions and consciousness. And seconds later, I was swooshed and swept back into my body, and I awoke, asking, what the heck just happened? Maybe it was a hallucination, maybe a dream. I still don't, to this day, know what happened. But one thing I know for sure was how I was feeling. I felt like I had awakened spiritually. But at the time, I couldn't really put my finger on it and explain it that way. But when I left and went outside to my car, I was amazed at how the trees, the grass, the sky, and even the air seemed to glow and come alive. I found comfort in knowing that others had taken this journey to spiritual awakening before me. Bill Wilson, the co-founder of Alcoholics Anonymous, wrote of his spiritual awakening in a collection of his writings as Bill sees it. Quote, "My spiritual awakening was electrically sudden and absolutely convincing. At once I became a part, if only a tiny part, of a cosmos that was ruled by justice and love in the person of God, no matter what had been the consequences of my own willfulness and ignorance, or those of my fellow travelers on earth. This was still the truth. Such was the new and positive assurance, and this has never left me." This is exactly how I felt. I sensed a feeling of being connected. My consciousness seamlessly spread out from within me to everything. Like the day I received my first communion, I believed in something bigger than myself and felt that there was an order to it all. I felt comfort, and for the first time a sense of belonging to something much bigger than myself or my ego. Emmett Fox, a New Thought spiritual leader in the early 20th century, explained it this way: "The explanation of all your problems, the explanation of your difficulties, the explanation of your triumphs in life, boil down to this: life is a state of consciousness. That is the beginning and the end. That is the final step in metaphysics. All other steps but lead up to that." Fox was famous for many of his Church of Divine Science services, with attendance exceeding more than 5,500 people in New York City during the time of the Great Depression. And many of his views are still popular today. While many of us don't think about consciousness in our daily lives, I never did. It plays a major part in our physical lives. And as Fox explains, your so-called physical body is the embodiment of a part of your consciousness. Your home is the embodiment of another part of your consciousness, kind of work you're doing. Whether you're in work that you love or whether you're doing drudgery that you hate is the expression of your consciousness at that point. The kind of people you attract into your life are the expression of your consciousness about your fellow man. In Hands of Life, A Guide to Healing Through the Human Energy Field, Barbara Ann Brennan writes, "Any illness, whether it be psychological or physical, will lead you on a journey of self-exploration and discovery that will completely change your life from the inside out." And as Ms. Brennan encourages us at the beginning of the book, her book, I had stepped out of the normal bounds of my life and had begun seeing myself differently. And importantly, I started to live my life at the cutting edge of time, allowing myself to be born into a new life every minute. With my eyes wide open, I began realizing synchronous events were happening all around me. I started to perceive things beyond the normal ranges of experience. I also began to observe the energy field flowing within my body and saw how it connected to other energy fields. And as Ms. Brennan points out, everything, including me, was living in a sea of energy. This led me to begin my path to self-healing and ultimately was the start of my journey to seek for my soul and its spirituality. And once the journey began, I used my long dormant pen to reflect my thoughts through poetry and prose along the way. And this quote by Perspectus, "A new day will come and go, but the minutes I spend in the moment are the most important of my life on this day." Thank you.